Hey, while we're waiting for the next few people to join us, I was wondering if anybody that's new out there wanted to tell us about themselves and what they're growing or doing, and what their thoughts are in helping them. And so I'll just throw that out there if anybody wants to jump on and say this is who I am and this is what I do.
Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you, Miss Faust.
Well, I'm Stephanie. I'm not growing anything yet. I'm just looking at, farming is my next kind of move. I saw you earlier in the seminar, webinar.
Oh yeah, yep,
I
yep,
saw,
yep.
yeah, I was like, I know that
The bald shiny head, it was probably blinding you.
face. Yeah, so I'm not really growing anything yet. It's kind of like I worked for years in construction and then in the oil field and a service connection disability finally kind of got the better of me, and I kind of got, I guess, felt like I retired early, but I was like, I'm not really ready um, to just be done with everything. So I've always been interested in the idea of farming, and so this is my very baby steps into kind of just looking at. I've done a little bit of organic farming. One of my friends from the military, she has an organic farm in Connecticut. Um, and I've worked some farm equipment. They did mostly greenhouses, but they did have a friend who had crops, so I did a little bit of that. Be a little bit of beekeeping, but I realized is I really just love being outside and playing in the dirt, and I don't care what I grow or where. I just want to play in the dirt. So
So where are you located at?
I am in Madison, Indiana.
Okay.
It is
What?
down by the river.
Okay.
I was living in Cincinnati while my daughter finished she just got done with graduate school in public administration, and couldn't afford to run two households, so I lived in Clifton. We lived in Clifton together, and I'm just glad to be out of there. Now it's my turn to go play in the dirt.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Hey, I see a few more new people. Anybody want to jump on and tell us what they're about?
Sure, I can jump in. My name is Forrest. I've been doing agritourism for probably the last 6 or 7 years. We try to do a self-sustaining, no chemicals, no artificial growing type of uh, products here. We do primarily livestock. We have a whole menagerie of livestock breeds here. We breed each of them to produce offspring to either sell or process or shear or whatever. And we invite people onto the farm to take part in the activities that we're doing here, whether it be shearing sheep or milking goats. We invite them onto the farm so they can kind of get some exposure to quote unquote farm life. You can stay here on the farm or we do farm tours. And that's a lot of where the agritourism comes from. But we rotate our grazing patterns for all of our livestock. We do make our own hay and we sell some of the surplus for some additional income. But like I say, a lot of it is self sustainment and producing um, as much as we can to not have to rely on the grocery store or things like that. And we're still working towards that. We're not completely self sufficient yet, but we're close. But anyway, that's a little bit about me.
Oh, that's cool. So do you guys advertise? What's the name of your farm?
Yes, we I advertise as maybe a little bit more generous than that. We don't really advertise too much. We do get a lot of word of mouth from the people that stay here or do tours here. But the farm's called Heavenly Acres Farm and Learning Center, and we're just west, or we're actually right in between Crawfordsville and Lebanon on US 32. If you're looking, um, we're one of the few, I guess, farms. My neighbor thinks I'm crazy for letting people come out of the farm, um, but yeah, we it's my wife and I, and we manage and run the whole thing. And we're I saw this and I thought it'd be a good opportunity to learn some new stuff and to learn from others and maybe, like I say, it's all about community in our minds. So the small farmers, especially, need that community. In my opinion, you need that community to sustain, be to stay afloat, honestly, because it's not all big farming out there, and we don't all have the big farm money. So again, it's one of those where we're trying to build out the community, trying to refine our skills and everything else. So that's kind of what we're trying to do here.
No, that's really cool and cool to hear. I appreciate that.
What county does
It's Boone County.
Boone?
Mhm.
Okay,
Boone
so
County.
it's north of Indianapolis then, right?
Yeah, northwest Indianapolis. If you go 65 north and get off on US 32, head west about 6 miles, you'll be there.
How far away is it Owen County from there?
I'm not sure. I can find
Well, I think that Owen County is Cloverdale is
Okay.
just
probably about an hour and a half.
hour and a half. Okay.
Yeah, my wife's family lives down south, and we drive through Cloverdale to get there. So, but yeah, it's about an hour and a half, that'd be my guess, depending on which route you take.
And, that's super. Anybody else want to jump in or give us a little bit of information about themselves, or we can get started as well? Or again, a few new names. So just want
Yeah,
to throw the mic up.
I'll jump in. I see a couple of familiar names on the list, but I'm Cortland Carrington. I own American Mushroom and Spice Company down in Bloomington, Indiana, and we've been in mushroom farming, which is kind of bizarre and odd, but we're starting year 10. We're right about 10 years in, and we produce fresh mushrooms. We have an on-site commercial kitchen where we process under inspection of Indiana Department of Health, and the Food and Drug Administration comes in and looks at us. We have an on-site lab where we can do culture work, cloning, and we make our own agar plates, and we can propagate different types of mushroom species. And we produce media that we distribute throughout Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, Illinois, and Michigan. We've shipped as far west as Utah and as far east as Connecticut. And the main thing we do is we produce the media the mushrooms grow in, and we ship them out to other farmers to produce mushrooms so that they can sell those at their farm stops, stores, and their roadside stands, and wherever they vend, they just add it in as a value-added product. That's what we do.
No, and Cortland, you're agreed to be a speaker at our workshop in January, and I appreciate that. A lot of interest in mushrooms, and you did a great job for the Agribility Tour. I think you have an awesome operation there, and I'm really curious. And we could talk more, not today, but on how you got there, because that building you have with your mushrooms in it, it's really cool on the way you're doing stuff.
Yeah, we it's a long story, as in most GIs. We all have long stories, but I can say we'll probably process about 75 tons of raw material into mushroom fruit blocks by the end of the year at our current production rate. So that'll be a record for us.
Yeah, those niche markets are wonderful. If you can get in there and then help people, and I know you get good products to people as well, so they can excel. So hey, so I'm gonna start with the Veterans in Farming meeting, and then if we want to talk more afterwards, we can. And then obviously, as I start all of these, the goal is to be interactive. So I have the chat up if I look away a little bit, or if somebody wants to jump in by, saying, "Hey, this is me. I'd like to know something." More than happy to do that, and then we record this and put them on YouTube as well for people to see. So I'll start by doing a little bit of the Veterans Farming and our financials. So we had a donation from Indiana Grown for the workshop. It is a reimbursable amount of $2,000, just the way the state works, which is fine. So the Indiana Grown has jumped onto the workshop that we're going to do in January to sponsor us. And I've sent out a few emails as well. If anybody is interested in helping us try to develop sponsors for the workshop, um, John Antill, our treasurer, has a book from the VFW conference on people that can be called or sent sponsorship letters. All the members should have gotten a email from me today with a link to a PDF. If that doesn't work, please let me know. But again, Indiana Grown jumped on it. I appreciate Caroline Patrick for doing that. As well as we have about 16 people signed up. Between numbers and things, that's ends up being with people that haven't paid yet about $900 towards a workshop. We'd like to get near 40,000 for the workshop, but we have a lot of time to do that, so I'm not too nervous. And we also have a lot more opportunities out there for sponsorship and the like. So again, not a nervous point to me. I would like to see, it would be great if for the workshop, and we'll go into more details, if we exceeded 40, 50 people, I think would be a great workshop. So anyways, also under financials for the workshop, because Sarah Creech did such a great job at Farm Aid. Farm Aid allows us to do a request for donation or grant for the workshop. So I have submitted that to Farm Aid as well. And we'll see how that turns out. I should hear in about the next week on that. We did pay off the credit card for Farm Aid for about $342. The money that I spent on getting James Heron the information for the workshop on November 10th did not come out of this account. It was donated. So we have in our account about $1,051. We'll see where that goes. Our goal with that amount in our veterans and farming account will be to pay off the workshop in January, and then we'll bring that back to the membership if there's any excess from donations or other things, how we want to spend that to help farmers in Indiana. And I have a couple ideas, but let's see if we get excess and do that. Anybody who wants to, feel free to share that, make that sponsorship memo that I sent everybody go viral. I sent it to John Deere. I sent it to a couple people that had connections with me as well, Corteva, other things. So please make it go viral and get it to as many organizations. There's some good benefits if you'll see in the flyer, as in, getting your a table, getting a meal out of it for the attendee and the like. So, and we could talk more about that. John is working on, or I think he's completed a couple SARE grants for the conference. John, did you want to talk anything about the SARE grants?
So we did finish the SARE grant for the education piece, max of $50,000 for 2 years. So that's in. We'll find out more information on it as it goes through. We might need some more information from us, but we shouldn't need anything from the members. The only thing I have for the members and everything is hit your VFW and your American Legions up for cash donations, because they have, since they're a 501(c)(3), this helps goes and it covers their ability to help veterans. So please hit them up. If you think you need to be a membership, please contact me. I've got both American Legion and VFW membership applications, so you can go and ask them for more money and join. They're great organizations that help support us. Over.
Yeah, thanks, John. We also did, we have the U.S. Equity and Conservation Outreach working for the veteran farms in Anderson and Danville. And no real update on that since last month. It's been a back and forth with paperwork and decisions. That money will be spent on the veteran farms to express and do some hands-on training for NRCS conservation practices, which include high tunnels, the EQIP program, soil and water, and a couple other programs they do. We've made a large commitment there, but we think the opportunity with that funding will give us better opportunities at those veteran farms again in Danville and Anderson. So next, I'll talk to Well, there's a scope of work that's going to the USDA, and we should be able to start in December if all comes through on that. I don't know if anybody's on from Porter Farms or Jack Farm. Is anybody on? Otherwise, I can give an update.
Joe, I'm here. I don't know if which farm I'm from.
Well, Jerry, if you want to talk a little bit about Jack's Farm, please jump in.
Well, you can see that we've had to cancel the November 4th due to the permitting requirement. The long story short, the president of the drainage board farms abutting land to us, and he was worried about if what that would do to that land if we, put a pond in. So we have to get an engineering study. Is it okay to tell that NRCS is involved in that, Joe?
Oh yeah, yep. So
Yeah.
it's a great opportunity. Everybody should know about that. NRCS does work like that.
Yeah, NRCS is going to pay for that engineering study, so that will certainly help us to get that pond in and be able to have that safety and equipment operation opportunity in the spring. I'm certain that there isn't a problem, but of course, you got to check all the boxes in order for some people to be satisfied. So we are having to delay that. We are doing some work on the house, and we're just really, it's kind of coming together. So that's kind of cool.
Hey, no, it is really cool to see where that has come from, just in 6 months. And, I think a good highlight is that even as an organization with some oomph between Purdue and some Indiana State Department of Ag, NRCS, and federal agencies, we came across a problem we just couldn't overcome in time. And so it's good to know your resources and get them involved early. NRCS was actually at that property a couple weeks prior to us even trying to permit. And then it just kind of roller coastered in a bad direction for us. But the county's requirements or request is within the scope of NRCS to do, and they're more than happy to do it. So one of the things for those people that are new members or new on is that we hope these experiences, although they may trip us up a bit, can help show you how to fix them when you have your challenges yourself or other things that are challenging. So I'll throw out there kind of a few things that we're sponsoring under opportunities. So the Soil and Water Outcome Fund, I think that'll close if it's not closed already very soon. And that's an opportunity where you get your acreage put into a climate points for a larger organization. I don't think anybody took opportunity there, which is fine. The Discrimination Financial Assistance Program. So if you feel that the FSA has discriminated against you over the past, years, many years, that policy or program is USDA sponsored, and it will help you to get some financial benefits because of past practices and discrimination. And then the last few things I'll throw out there is Indiana AgVets is up and rolling. If you're not enrolled in the Indiana AgVet program, please do. It is a easy process, run a questionnaire, and then Linda Tarr sends you an email and says, what do you want to do? And if you're not familiar with the AgVet program, the other thing Indiana AgVet does is it will sponsor you to come to a farm like Jack's Farm in Anderson, learn a little bit of farming with us, give you hands-on experience, maybe at my farm or somebody else's farm. If you want to get into apples or bees, or if you want to go learn chicken stuff or organic stuff. We have plenty of farms out there that you can go to, and you get stipend $15 an hour to do that, up to a maximum of 400 hours. They also stipend classes. I took the Extension Master Gardener course off of the Indiana Ag Vet grant. They paid for that. They paid for my ServSafe. They're also paying for people to go to the conference at Fair Oaks Farm in January. They're not paying travel or hotel, but they are going to pay for ticketing costs. So Linda Tarr will do that once you enroll. There is a North American Honeybee Expo down in Louisville, Kentucky, that they will sponsor as well if you get with Linda. And if there's any questions on that, let me know. And Linda and I can work together on how to get somebody to the North American Honeybee Expo in Kentucky. She prefers right now to just do tickets. I think you'll find one of the challenges with giving out free stuff is when it's free or too free, that people don't always attend what they've committed to. So we have just a little bit of concern there. I see James put bring them down. That's great. Yep. No, we will. And then lastly, Agribility has a 2024 conference in March at the Grand Hyatt in Atlanta. They will stipend that out of Ag Vets, and they may even stipend travel. But those decisions have not been made yet by Agribility. Agribility is the host of that conference. That'll be in the Grand Hyatt, like I said, the Grand Hyatt in Buckhead. One of the interesting things there is it's a combination of educators and farmers. I've been to it now. This will be the third year. Very professionally run conference, and we will have at least 4 or 5 discussion hours on veteran specific stuff between our community of interest and beekeeping and a veteran farmer panel. It's going to be put on by Michael O'Gorman, who was the founder of the Farmer Veteran Coalition. So I think there's some greatness there too. And again, Linda may stipend it out of Indiana Ag Vets, but that decision has not been finalized, nor the process for it too. So I will keep you informed and probably let you know more about that in December, but keep that in your book as well on going to that. And I'll try to send out an email on it when that decision is made. So a couple things that we wanted to have a discussion on. One of them is Farm to School grants program. So Farm to School is a USDA grant authorized or founded by Senator Leahy, where there is a opportunity for farmers to put their food into schools. It doesn't necessarily need to be them supporting a lunch or a school full time. It can be as little as, an apple crunch day, they called it at Indiana State Department of Ag, where you give them just a pile of apples, and they at school and the younger kids learn that their food does not necessarily come from Kroger's or Myers. It actually comes from a farm, and try to develop that connection. I have a couple people I'm talking to about that. One of them is, I think what we might consider doing is the planning grant for that. And the planning grant means that somebody would not volunteer, we'd be able to put their pay into the Farm to School grant, and they would really try to make the connection with the veteran farms that have opportunities to go in schools, and then the schools that would take that product. 1 year of planning that out, trying to work it out where the farms met the food safety requirements, the schools had the proper process, it was all understood. And then the second year being the actual, I would say, execution where the actual food goes into the school. So I'm going to leave. I should have stopped the outcome, the opportunities, but any comments on the opportunities or the Farm to School grant anybody has?
I'd be happy to help any way I can.
Thank you, Forrest. Would you think you'd want to be involved in the grant and the planning process or do you see yourself maybe having produce that would be valuable to put into schools?
Yeah, it depends on how much produce, but I could certainly be happy to help. Like say if you need me to do something, I can, like say, we're willing to jump in, and we're all about the education and sharing what we've learned and what we do here. Is because you mentioned getting into chickens, we partner with inner city schools, a lot of their high school students that are challenged. They come out here, and then we basically walk through how to raise chickens, and that you can actually eat the eggs that they lay. You don't have to get them from the store, that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's part of right where we are in the house. So anything I can do to help.
Are you familiar with the Indiana grown schools program at all?
We're members of Indiana Grown. I don't know that I'm familiar with the schools program.
Okay. Yeah, there is. It's funny enough, it's the same name, but schools after it. Okay, no, I appreciate that. I think that's great. John, did you want to say something, John Anto?
Yeah, throw me in that uh, for both rabbits and for the all that stuff I'm doing underneath the high tunnel.
I think bringing rabbit to the schools would be very, very interesting. So, like I said, I mean, this will mature more if we get the grant, and as we find people, because it's a difficult planning process, right? We have over 700 members, almost 800 members now, and we have to really try to find out those people that, and I'll talk a little bit about why people come to Veterans in Farming. But no, that's super. Anybody else out there? Okay, next I'll talk about, we're looking at the specialty crop grant. There's 2 or 3 people that have given interest in aquaponics. We have opportunity with some land in Anderson and also maple syruping. So I don't know how we're going to shape that, but again, I wanted to throw it out to the group to see if anybody's interested in, besides the ones I know, in aquaponics or doing maple syrup.
Hey Joe, I'm interested in the aquaponics part and maple syrup.
Okay, super. And I would throw out there, especially for you, Stephanie, if any of this is something like, hey, I just want to learn, but I may not really grab onto and I want to walk away from, feel free to jump in it. And since these are grants, there is a little bit of time delay on it. We had Locust Farm offer to give us opportunity through the Ag Vet program to learn maple syrup. Locust Farm is here in Knightstown near me, and the one of the co-owners of it is Purdue Extension educator, and so we would probably use the Ag Vet grant to kind of get an understanding of the maple syrup from their property. We're looking at some additional opportunities between aquaponics and maple syrup that Jerry Alexander has offered generously for us to look at. So ag vets for a year, and then maybe after the specialty crop grant, which won't probably come out till July. It'll come out as a grant application in probably January or February. Won't come out with actual funding until the end of this season. We have to look ahead and say, hey, this is a next season thing. This is a 2025 maple syrup run if we do a specialty crop grant. So anybody else interested in those areas?
When you ask if we're interested, like I said, I am brand new to all this and what we're doing. And I'm just now learning about farming. Is that like learning about it, volunteering to help with it? I mean, what is, I didn't know we did maple syrup here. I've been to Connecticut and helped on a friend's farm and helped them build their sugar house and all that, but I didn't know they did maple syrup anywhere near here.
That's a great question, Stephanie. So really, I think, and I'm going to talk a little bit in a future slide. I think people come to Veterans in Farming for different things. they're a veteran that, wants to get their hands dirty and get some dirt therapy. There's some that just want to experience and find themselves. These are definitely opportunities to find yourself. So I'll give you an example. If you signed up for the Ag Vet grant, and I don't know if you have or have not, you could go to Locust Farm in Knightstown and help them this summer, you know, do their maple syrup operation, which is, it's quite interesting when you start getting into the chemistry of getting taps and how do you do the dynamics of it. And Pat McCarthy out there at Locust is super smart on it. So some of it's experiential. And one of the things I try to encourage that we have patience on is that, and I think we do, is that, some of it's experiential and people may walk away and go, hey, that's just not for me. Right. But who knows if they want to do maple syrup or can find the resources for it. Right. Because he's got 100 trees he tapped last year and made, I think, about 35 gallons of maple syrup from, he told me.
Where is this? Where's this farm? I didn't know there were sugar maples. I guess I just thought they were all up in New England.
Yeah, no, it's an actual Indiana. There's a maple syrup group, and his farm is in Knightstown. It's called KNIGHTSTOWN. It is a bit east of Greenfield, would probably be the major city south of Anderson.
Okay. Okay. And then if you don't mind me asking, you said the Ag Vet scholarship. I'm not sure. I just kind of throw my hat in for kind of everything, and I started out
Yeah.
doing, I guess with Ag Vets, I went to moved to Madison and saw like a VSO here, and he said, "Hey, if you're interested in any of this," and it's almost like I'm overwhelmed trying to piece it together, but
Oh, no, perfect. So Ag Vets, it's if you Google Indiana Ag Vets, or if you want to send me an email, I can send you a link. You can use my Purdue email, Ricker2, RICKER2 at purdue.edu. I'll put it in the chat, and I'll send you a link to Linda Tarr, and that just opens up.
yeah, I think we went through all that. So I'm guessing I signed up for different things, and she said, "Oh, you don't have to pay this or pay that." So I guess that, I guess that means
Yep.
yeah, I'm just so yeah, okay.
So AgVets does a couple things. They will pay for stuff like our conference in January for people to attend. They'll pay for classes like ServeSafe, and they'll pay for ServeSafe and Master Gardener like I took, or they'll pay for you to intern. So if you were to do maple syruping here in Knightstown in the before the spring, they would stipend you to come out there. Some people need it, some people don't. I mean, at a minimum, you seem kind of far away, so it's probably good gas money.
Yeah.
What
I would
we're
love to do that though. I mean, I think they start tapping in like February or something.
Yep.
I remember going out in the winter in Connecticut. It was
Yep.
really, I enjoyed it, but I thought it was really neat.
Oh yeah, no, he talked to us about, he talked to me and a few other people about having that, midnight burning your wood and keeping your wood going to
Yeah.
boil down the product. It's like
Sure.
a camp out of adventure. So
I'm interested in that and aquaponics too. So I don't know how to go forward with.
okay, well, we'll keep you. Well, what we're doing right now, I think, is give you the opportunity and then a little bit of a sensing, right? So I would prefer not to put a large effort around aquaponics and maple syrup if somebody said,
Okay.
hey, you're kind of crazy, because it does take a little bit of effort. But we have a volunteer kind of to lead both of those areas that are not on today. They might be. I don't know for sure if they're on, but no, definitely opportunity in both of those that we'll keep you in the loop on.
Okay. Okay.
So again, every other Tuesday we have a conference planning session. We had one yesterday, even through Halloween. A few attendees there, and I just wanted to let know that's going on. Regional captains, happy to have Jim Herod, covered down on the south area, down by Kentucky. He's going to go to the event on November 10th and the like. So if anybody else is interested in being a regional captain, please let us know, and more than happy to take volunteers for regional areas. Does anybody want to be a regional captain that's on today?
What does that mean, Joe?
So it's really selling the opportunities to veterans in your area. I would, as president, executive director, however you title it, enable like I am Jim to really have that flexibility on what they want to do. Jim's going to go down to a conference in Kentucky. We're going to partner him with Agribility at Purdue that works with people with disabilities to continue on in farming. Going to give him the list of veterans in his area. And, I would really leave that to the regional captain to decide how they want to do that, whether they ask us as an organization to, hey, can you stipend a luncheon? Can we have a meeting really to get that synergy going in the region they're in? Does that answer your question, Forrest?
It does, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much help I would be in that one, but like I say, if you need somebody, I'm happy to have that conversation with you.
Okay. I am just, after years of service, I'm not somebody who directs anymore. I'm somebody who really wants to empower somebody to do what they're comfortable with in their areas. So if we can do that, and that's the same that I want to say about the specialty crop grant and the farm to school. If somebody feels that they need the organization to empower them to move forward, and we're going to capture on the opportunity to include other veterans, I'm more than happy to be that guy and use the veterans and farming business back end to really enable that, like we've done with a couple things. So if somebody comes across a good idea, feel free to shoot me a note at vetsinfarming@gmail.com or Rick or two at Purdue and talk about that. Lastly, we do have a vacancy for the secretary. Tammy's on today. She's had to back away from that position with personal business. So do I have anybody who's interested in being a secretary for veterans and farming? And really that comes down to, documenting the minutes and assisting the team with advice. The treasurer's John Antill. I'm the president, and then really just provide that advice and shaping of veterans and farming where we don't have to go to a large meeting. I'll give you an example. Every so often I say to Tammy or John, hey, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? If you're interested in that position, please let me know and I'll give it a moment of silence to see if anybody wants to jump on and be a part of the executive team.
Joe, I will say that it is a very quick way to learn about different farming techniques and how we operate.
Oh no, absolutely. And I hope to think that it's a very good education process for somebody as well.
Do you have to
So
have any experience? I mean, or you just kind of jump in there and force
John,
their fire?
yeah, I mean, if you want to do it, Stephanie, we could talk on the side if you want to, but I think it'd be a great position for, I mean, to jump in and kind of,
Might as
come along
well.
with me and John.
Okay.
All right, I'll take Stephanie as a volunteer with a follow-up phone call. Can you put your number in the chat and I'll call you tomorrow?
Yeah,
Actually, if you signed up, I have it.
I think I did. You want me to
Okay.
put it down just in case, or you want me to just?
I'll get it. I'll find you, Stephanie. Don't worry.
Okay.
That's great. Thank you, Stephanie.
Sure.
Hey, so a little bit of the workshop update, and then I'm going to look for a little bit of opinion. So we are good on conference room. I did a site visit last week to Fair Oaks Farm. I saw that they have plenty of conference rooms and opportunities for more. One of the conference rooms actually was more of a hospitality room. Actually had a bumper pool table in it. I don't know if anybody remembers bumper pool, but a guy growing up in Chicago and you couldn't get a real pool table in your basement. you always got bumper pool, and they actually have bumper pool tables in their hospitality rooms, which just you remember that, Stephanie? Did you ever play bumper pool?
I do.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
that was pretty awesome. And I will tell you, there's plenty of space for us if we get up to 200, and then there's plenty of space in other rooms, and we have opportunity to expand. So it's really nice. We are looking for, and I've asked, and she couldn't be on tonight. Katie Yeen, who's been helping us with some of our PR stuff, on somebody to do a program design for it. And we are also going to be able to sell bling, like Veterans and Farming t-shirts and patches and the like. So I don't necessarily need a volunteer right now. I'll bring it up a little bit next month too. But program design, if anybody's got any graphic art skills or that would be appreciated, because we want to have that professional presentation to the membership, about what's going on and stuff. And I have agendas as well that I'll show you in a minute. The AgVet stipend is working. Linda's stipend and paid for a lot of people. So if you're going to go or able to go and just holding off on tickets for another month, I completely understand. But she does have, I think, a limit of 25 tickets on that, and she's about halfway through that. So if you do want to go, I encourage you to sign up through Linda and get that AgVet stipend for the $100 ticket. And then, as I said earlier, Indiana Grown has offered has done a gold sponsorship, and we'll start to push that out more and more. So I think we'll probably have more sponsorships as well as we go. So I'm going to share with you now the agenda. If there's any questions on that while I do it, I'm more than happy to answer them. So I think you can see now the rough agenda. So just to throw this kind of orient you to it, you'll see the columns. I've tried to keep the times consistent across the events. So we have column B, which is kind of the basic events for somebody who is, in my mind, and somebody who does not own property yet, somebody who doesn't actually, produce anything yet, but really thinks farming is right for them, and so they come to the conference. And so we'll do business planning, marketing with Indiana Grown, and some NRCS stuff. And Stephanie or anybody who's on the meeting today has certainly heard a lot of the NRCS opportunities with some of the AgVets stuff as well. Do a lunch, resourcing and USDA grants, some of the opportunities there. Then we're going to do a roundtable on with Sarah, who does Blue Yonder Farm, Leslie, who does Celtic Glen, Alan, who's on today, and I apologize, Alan, for not knowing your farm's name. And I'm still due out to get Doug Weddle, who does bison there. So really, that's just a kind of a roundtable where veteran farmers have the opportunity to talk to some of the more experienced farmers that are veterans as well, and how they got where they're at. Looking for a little bit of an hour discussion on how to start. I think that can be challenging. So we are going to deep dive into that a little bit on who to get to that. Looking at maybe the Purdue beginning farmer group. They have actually a beginning farmer group, and I reached out to Amy Thompson on that. And then how to get my land, because that seems to be, the biggest challenge on how to get land and where to go. So I have a little bit of a block open, so I'm open to ideas. Any comments on the beginning farmer kind of track that we're doing? So next I'll go through kind of the farm options. So some people have started a farm. Some people have kind of settled and know that they want to be a farmer, kind of have maybe a starting of a business plan, but want to look for options on their farm. So during that, it's going to be more, and I will erroneously say commodity based. on some farming options. So we'll talk about beekeeping, orchard, and other specialty areas. I was thinking rabbits always comes up. John, did you want to do a discussion on rabbits?
10, 20, 30, 40 minutes? Sure.
Okay. Um, some sustainable farming. A lot of people ask about how do I farm sustainably. Organic farming. I know Sarah Creech does organic on hers, and there's some USDA benefits there as well. Cortland's committed to doing mushrooms. A lot of people are interested in mushrooms. I was going to circle back if they aren't on the call to Celtic Glen and Leslie and her husband to see if they wanted to talk about sheeps and goats. They do sheeps and goats, right, John?
They do sheep, goats, chickens, Highland, mini, Texas. Yeah. So, and I know Lexi will always talk about her farming practices.
Yeah, I know that too, but I didn't want to commit without asking. And then I would leave that up to the last group of the farming options. You know, I honestly think there's some veteran farmers that want to do row crops. So I was kind of torn between doing another roundtable on speakers, um, or to do something on row crops, soy and corn. Any thoughts on that out there? Does somebody have any ideas which one we should do there? Okay, I'll leave that open, but that's kind of where we're at, and I'll let the committee kind of shape that and see what kind of speakers we can get. But Joe Rorick, who I often get confused with, but he has hair, at Purdue, does a lot of things with row crops. So maybe he's a good option there. And he also has some, I think he has some options on soil for row crops and some sustainability ideas. So I'll shoot him a note. And he's got some connections there as well. So last half hour will be workshop comments and survey, and then dinner. So just so everybody knows, that $100, um, that $100 really directs towards just food, and that's really when you go to a hotel, it's never cheap, but that $100 will cover the meals. If you stay at the hotel, you'll get breakfast, and we'll look for that break, the first break, to be more of a hearty thing. So hey, Forrest, I see your note, and I think that's wonderful. Are you thinking like an agritourism thing?
Yeah, I mean I can cover a lot of things. I'm not going to say I'm expert at any of them, but I can certainly talk about the tourism part of it because I think there's a lot of, I mean, if you haven't already explored that, there's a lot of opportunities around that and various ways to, to add in some extra revenue for your farm, and or just good contacts. I mean, because that's honestly, I don't do marketing all that much, but word of mouth through the agritourism is what's carrying us to get larger and larger, right? I mean, we're getting to the point now where we're at the edge of looking at employees. I'm looking at quitting my full-time job, those kinds of things. So we're getting close, but we're just not quite there. So like I say, that's why I'm interested in this group, because again, there's a lot of experiences here, and I'm really anxious to share those, just the different stories and different successes and failures and learning from each other. So that's really what I'm interested in.
No, that's super. And I think the membership has a real interest in agritourism too. So, part of the conference is going to make connections as well. So, I'm gonna pencil you in. I'm gonna highlight it, and then we'll just go through and make sure we can fit that in someplace for you.
Cool.
And then lastly, I think we're going to go heavy on the extension area, the education area. And then we want to talk about Purdue Extension. I talked to Mr. Orek, who does the Purdue Extension Master Gardener program, which Nobody's perfect, I erroneously thought would be a great program for discussion alone. But he kind of realigned me that Purdue has many programs that will help a veteran farmer or any farmer wanting to get into agriculture. Um, and he named a few. I think one was Get to Grow. So we're going to kind of widen that a little bit and not just do Master Gardener, but we're going to either have him or Amy Thompson talk about, what does Purdue offer when it comes to training programs. And then we're going to back end that with ag vets talking about, and Linda Tarr talking about, hey, this is how we can pay for you to go to it for free. So a lot of value there. Working on grant writing and management. I think those are two significant areas. I have the specialty crop grant for Addie's Orchard on my farm. I will tell you, my biggest nightmare is the business back end. It just is not fun for me. I can go into beekeeping and get into a hive or drive a tractor all day long. I understand the business process, but it's not fun to me. I can write grants as well, but I think there's just a lot of discussion there when it comes to, hey, what grants are out there for me as a veteran farmer? How do I write them? And then more importantly, when I start to get that money from a grant, how do I manage it so that I'm successful for meeting the objectives of the grant? So we'll do that as well. A little bit of farm economics, and I took his name off, but Monty Henderson from the Indiana State Small Business Association is going to speak on, farm economics and the a little bit of doing QuickBooks, which was a great recommendation a meeting or two ago. How do you manage that money in there? And then succession planning on the farm. What happens? How do I pass that on legally? I'm not sure who we're gonna ask to talk about that. That's a tough topic. And then I wanted to pull Indiana Grown into the education as well, because I think there's opportunity there. So any additions or thoughts on the education lane? Stephanie, you're pretty new to this. I mean, is this a meaty conference for you that you think would be worthwhile for you?
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, and yeah, sustainability and like conservation and farming. A lot of people are really interested in everything from soil erosion to, like when I think about farming, I think the most important thing to me is not making as much money as I can, or even making a lot of money. To me, I can be patient with that, but kind of making sure I do it right, where I don't ruin something else to have it. So that's really, and the agritourism, I think that's great. Mushrooms, yeah, I think so. The only other thing and I don't know, again, I'm new to farming, but um, I don't know if there's anybody that really specializes in soils and stuff. I really, in my opinion, want to understand just when I grow stuff like compost and soils, and I don't really understand soils, so that's a personal thing I'm gonna. But soils, for some reason that interests me, and I don't know who else it would interest, but and I know the kind of farming is kind of moving away from that in some ways, doing more like the aquaponics, hydroponics. I don't know the difference between those either, but yeah. So
Well, that's good to know, and I agree with soils. I think that's a great idea. We'll throw that in there. I think I'll talk to Joe Rourke about it and see if there's opportunity there, because I think he talks to that quite a bit.
yeah, because row crops, I mean, you can't get it really away from soils. I don't think with row crops.
Well, to second that, I encountered some of that soil issue when you start trying to do your hay products. And depending on if you're not just trying to do fescue, if you're trying to do specialty hays, it needs certain types of nutrients in the soil to grow and be successful. So if you don't do a soil test, and I learned through my soil test that if you have any kind of hill or even slant on your property, the soil nutrients will dip and ebb and flow depending on what you got. We have a creek where we do. I'm trying to plant a bunch of. I've planted a bunch of trees to reduce the erosion. But that's another thing is you got those farm runoff areas where the farm next to you will run through your property depending on what you got. Well, that also ekes into your soil. So that's just some of the things that we've ran into here on our farm is, we were trying to do a certain specialty crop. I had to get a soil test to make sure it was going to actually grow.
Hey, no, I'm 110% with you, Forrest. I mean, that was a challenge we had at Jack's farm with how to do the water there. And then my farm with the 250 apple trees, I can definitely tell that as I get more into the soil that is wet or wetter, I definitely have an effect on my apple trees, pulling in the nutrients from the soil to grow. So I'll throw that out there and see if Joe can support. Hey, so lastly, I think this is the last slide, and then we'll go to any comments or questions from the group. So I've kind of been working through, because I hear from a lot of veterans that hey, why do we do this? Where am I at in this? And I think I really appreciate Stephanie and Forrest on today, is some new people, and there's a few other new people on, that I think everybody in their mindset has two things, right? Where do you want to help? And so some people that are doing good at farming and enjoy it and don't want to go any further or higher than they're at, really just want to help veterans and want to help them make money. Some of us feel that it's kind of a dirt therapy, right? So it's for the mental health therapy. And then there's some people I would say out there that are veterans that want a job in agriculture. They need a place to eat, they need a place to live, but they actually, don't have the ambition of doing it themselves. And I think those are just, it was a nice Venn diagram that I had in my head that I just wanted to kind of throw out there for discussion, because I think it speaks to, some ideas that people, where do they want to help veterans in farming? And then where do they want help in veterans in farming? And some people will say, hey, I don't need help, I'm doing well, but I do have a commitment to help other veterans. And then some people will say, hey, I can't help right now because I don't have a lot of experience, but I certainly feel that this area will help me either make money as a business, give me agrotherapy, a little dirt therapy, or, I am never going to get to those areas because I'm struggling. And so is it about helping veterans get jobs or food? Like, so couple interesting areas between the circles that I saw when I made that is, I think the top circle that I didn't note, and I don't know if you can see my cursor right here, that's the toughest one, right? It's to help a veteran make money.
Need to
when
pull
they
the
have-
slide up, Joe.
I'm sorry,
You don't have that slide up.
I don't have that slide up.
No, you can
It's
stay on the
paused.
agenda.
That's a good slide, and it's paused. Thanks.
Yeah, this is too good. Everybody has to see this.
Thanks. Can you see it now?
Yeah, we
Okay. Yeah, so you'll see helping veterans make money, helping veterans in mental therapy or in therapy, and then helping veterans get jobs and food. And so I think agriculture is a nice center spot there, but I think there's some tough areas, right? So this Venn diagram area above agriculture, I mean, it's hard to get somebody that's got challenges mentally to, make a lot of money, but maybe that person with challenges with PTSD or TBI, maybe they can, get to the point of enjoying a farm or enjoying that opportunity and working on a farm and being successful for themselves. Maybe they can get to, making money, and I don't judge anybody on their capabilities. But there's also some nice Venn areas where they overlap. Is it capability to own a farm, manage, succeed, or is it something else that they want to do that they just want to get past, mental challenges? So I'm gonna use this a couple more times, but I wondered if anybody had any thoughts on it.
Well, money's not the only thing in life. There's stocks and bonds and real estate and, other things.
It's from the pastor. Is that your pastor hat, Jared?
well,
Yes, I guess so.
Well, there is different things.
Also, there is
more
possi-
than money, but You have to be content with the person you see in the mirror every morning, so forth. So you have to have a level of personal satisfaction as far as I'm concerned.
Well, there's also farm hands and stuff people can get in to work on a farm. It's not just owning the farm. That's why I was trying to allude to. There's other areas they could get, even working at a tractor dealership, you know. I don't know. They're screaming for diesel mechanics right now.
Oh,
Just a-
oh yeah, yeah. No, I think you're right. I think all three of you are right in that, unfortunately, some organizations, and I'd like to try to stay out of that loop, really get after, hey, you have to be a farmer and own a farm. But I think there's two other circles in there that I would like to make sure we get after at Veterans and Farming, and that's to make it, healing for people, and also to make it, you don't have to own a farm. You can, work on a farm and give yourself a place to eat and sleep. And if you're enjoying life, that's important. So any other thoughts out there?
I'd say too, like, I don't know, again, you may have covered this at a different time, but like you say, working on farms or, a place to eat, I guess that's a lot of volunteer stuff, but I do know veterans that they go to different farms. It's kind of like how they had the old wolfing or whatever, but it's geared more toward veterans where they do get to go volunteer and do a farm stay and yeah, I think that's important too for veterans and farming. A lot of them just yeah, a lot of volunteer opportunities. That'd be nice if there were a lot of different farms that really reached out to veterans and they knew about those. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's part of not really my issue, but we're good to that point where we need the extra help, and there's a liability that comes with that. But yeah, if I knew there were veterans out there that we could kind of partner up with, then to me it'd be a little easier to take those on versus maybe another opportunity. So yeah, that would be something that, like I say, for us, and the therapy is a big deal because we have a lot of like the assisted living places, nursing homes, anything like that, where people are either limited physically or mentally, where you start putting animals up in their face or getting them exposed to some of that, it definitely makes a huge difference. I mean, it's amazing. Even if they can't talk, right? It's amazing what the animals do and can sense as to how it relates to those people, because they can't talk, but you can tell that they're happy. So I can't champion that one enough. That's a big deal.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So I see these kind of three vent areas as both an input and an output, right? Where do I see myself in those areas as an ability to help veterans in farming? And then as an output, do I see myself in any of those there needing help from veterans in farming because our intent is to really help veterans? So I'll keep showing it. I think I may fine tune it. I welcome comments, but yeah, I think in the past we've only been around for about 6 months now, 7 months. Really, I've come to realize that we all have different intents for why we come to veterans and farming and why we participate in veterans and farming and want to offer things to veterans. So just a little pontification, and I appreciate your patience on that. So um, I'll go out there for any last membership comments or questions out there. I did not change the date. That is my error, and I'm looking up the date right now in December. But I will post that I turned off my iPhone so it didn't ring. I'll post that. It's always the first Wednesday of the month. So whatever the first Wednesday is with December before it at 6 p.m. Eastern, I will send out this recorded message, and I will send out an invite to the next one. So nothing hurt. I'll stay on for a minute or two longer and turn off the recording if anybody's got private conversations they want to have. But I certainly appreciate the audience today, and thank you.
Ew, this was fun.